intro cam here. I finally did it. I'm an extra, and I'm going to show you how you can do it too. I started studying for the extra exam exactly how I started studying for my technician and my general. I went and I bought the ARRL license manual book. These are fantastic books. I think they're great for reference, but it was my busy season at work and I just couldn't find the time to sit down and read it. Before I knew it, it was mid to late April, and I finally realized that, hey, dummy, the question pool is going to expire soon. And not that the studying would have gone to waste, but it would have been better served just getting through these questions before I had to learn a whole new set of questions. So desperate to scramble before I all that studying, you know, went to waste, not to waste, but you know, I decided that I'm going to do the same thing I did with my general, which is set a date. Go ahead and schedule the exam and put it on the books. That way I have a date that I have to have everything done by. It's going to stare me every day in the face on my calendar that says, hey, you've got to do this. So I did that. I scheduled it for June 18th, but the issue is I still have to read this huge book and I don't have the time to do it. So I took a note from Josh at Ham Radio Crash Course. He always talks about this book on his podcast and on his YouTube channel. The fast track to your extra class ham radio license. I decided to go ahead and give that a try. And this is the newer version for the new question pool. And unfortunately, the audiobook isn't out yet. But I got to say, the audiobook was amazing because I was able to set how fast I was listening to things. So I could go up to 1.5 times speed, or I could slow it down if I wanted to. But going up to 1.75 times speed allowed me to shave 5 to 10 minutes off a chapter. Now I know that doesn't sound like a lot, you know, an extra 5, I might be exaggerating with 10 minutes, but 5 to 7 minutes at least per chapter. That doesn't sound like a lot. Well, when you take into account that there's almost 60 chapters in this, that adds up. That's a lot of time. So that allowed me to just keep listening to this basically on repeat from April until June and just get that knowledge in my head. Now, this book is great, but it doesn't do half as much as it needs to do unless you follow the instructions in the book and take the practice questions and exams after every chapter. Yeah, did I forget to mention that? There are practice questions and exams included with the book, which I know you can get that stuff for free, and I'll talk about that later. The great thing about these is that you are reinforced on your knowledge at the end of every chapter. Another thing this book does great is that you're not studying just by sub element. So if you're unfamiliar with how the test is broken down, it's broken down into sub elements. So for the extra exam, you would have the questions are labeled as E1A05, you know, and so you have A and B and C and D. Then you also have E2, E3, E4, E5, and so on like that. So another great thing I think this book does is that it takes questions from across all of the sub elements that are pertinent to each other and kind of teaches you those at the same time. Whereas I feel like something like the ARRL class book is great for reference and stuff, but it seems to really break it down by sub element. So you're looking at all of E1 first, then all of E2, then all of E3. So basically with this book, you're doing, if you follow their instructions, you're doing 50 questions at the end of almost every chapter. And then you're doing another 50 questions after every few chapters and what they call progress checks. And that is just reinforcing your knowledge from the beginning of the book up to the current point where you are. So I did some quick math, and it's not 100% accurate, but it'll give you a guesstimate of how many questions you're answering, how many times you're answering these questions to reinforce that knowledge. And I think that's super important. So if there's 50 questions a chapter, there's about 57 chapters, I think, where you answer these questions. Then there's 12 progress checks in total with another 50 questions. If you multiply all that together, you're answering questions from this book 3,450 times. For me, that was amazing. That really buried the knowledge deep in my head to almost where I could just look at the shape of a question and be like, okay, this is the answer. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this book is just for memorizing the answers, because I don't think that will do anybody any good. I think you're going to do the most disservice to yourself. I think that it does a great job of telling you what the answers are, and then the narrator / author goes into great detail explaining you why these are the answers and what little tricks and tips you can use to like reinforce that knowledge in your head. So I should also preface that I was super intimidated when taking this. I mean, let's take a look at this over here. I just Googled this and found this. I don't know if these are the correct numbers, but they look about right from what I remember. This is from Ham Radio Prep. So you only have to answer 35 questions on tech and general, and you only got to get 26 of those to get a passing score. And if you look at the question pool, it's about the same. There's only 412. Again, these, I don't know if these are exactly right, but this is about what I remember the breakdown to be. There's 412 questions, 450 questions in the general, and then I think this is per the test, not per the actual book, because I remember there being way more, but 3 for the tech, 1 for general, and then you go down to here to extra, and it's like, hey, you know what, you're going to answer 50 questions now, and you got to get 37 of them right, because the goal is to get 74% correct. The biggest intimidating factor for me is the fact that there are now 622 questions, and that you also have to there's also 14 schematic diagrams. That is just a ton of stuff to keep track of and try to have recall on. So that's something that I thought this book did really good, and I'll show you a bit here. So if you go to their website, fasttrackham.com, you can make an account. You don't need to buy a book to make an account. You can do that for free. But this best goes with the book. So if we go to the extra class and we go to practice exams, so if you expand this, you get the practice exams by chapter. And what these are is these are all kind of grouped by a little section here. So like 2 to 6, I think, and then like 7 to 12 or whatever it is. It's like 4 to 5 chapters that are kind of grouped together. And one of these is 50 questions, and it's knowledge. So if I did, so let's say it's 2 to 6, it would be the new 10 questions from chapter 6 plus the rest of the random questions from 2 through 5 on this practice exam. So that's kind of how it builds these fake practice exams up, and then eventually you get down to here and it's still 54 to 58. Once you get from 2 to 6, it tells you, hey, now's a good time to go take a progress check. So you go and take a progress check, and there's 12 progress checks to kind of denote those groups. When you take a progress check, you're supposed to not look up any answers. Don't answer it if you don't know it, because this is how you're going to check your knowledge and make sure you actually know it. You go in, you answer these questions. Again, it's 50 questions from that, and I believe that these progress checks are from at that point in the book to the beginning. So it's a huge, you're getting progressively more and more questions. And this is how you gauge your knowledge on like where you're at in the book, and like if you should continue or if you should go back and study more. And so after the progress checks, they have I now, those are the only 2 I did. I did the practice exams by chapter. I did the progress checks. Then at the very end of the book, I did the final practice exam. These chapter quizzes are basically just the new questions for each chapter. I think that's good for maybe if you don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and answer these questions, but I think you're doing yourself a disservice by not making sure you do the practice exams every time. So after that, we also have the group drills, and this is just you're drilling the questions broken down by these sub elements. So again, this book is awesome, but I do think that another good thing to do is once you get about, I think it's about 50% of the way through the book, the author makes a note of saying like, hey, you theoretically know enough knowledge to pass this exam now. And I think it was around then that I kind of started taking questions on hamstudy.org just for like extra, like real quick, like we're going to answer a couple questions. And the thing I really like about this is that when you go here, you can see all these different questions that you've answered, how many times you've seen them. So as you can see, I haven't, like these later ones, I haven't really done a lot because I didn't really keep doing this once I started the book. I just kind of did it towards the end when I was getting closer to test day and I needed to keep taking practice exams, because I kind of like how this lays out the practice exams more. So by me doing this, like I said, every day, lunch and bedtime, I would do 1 to 2 chapters. Towards the end there, I was staying up late to do 4 to 5 chapters because I had a vacation in the middle of trying to study for all this, and I fell off the audiobook train too. But to get back onto it, I was doing 4 to 5 chapters and really studying hard. And then you get to a point where, because I'm also trying to do everything as fast as I can because I've got so much to get through. You get to a point where I'm becoming my own worst enemy now. I know the materials, I know the questions, but I'm going so fast that I need to slow myself down because I'm just going too fast, and I'm like not reading the question fully, and I'm picking the wrong answer, and it's all on me. I'm the problem at this late stage. I was trying to slow myself down, take a breath between questions, and when I was doing it, I was getting between 47 to 50 right, so I was getting perfect scores. So that for me was a huge confidence boost. And like I said, this ham study, you can see here that like all of a sudden I'm getting, you know, really high scores here, and that it was a huge confidence boost for me getting ready for my test. So it's the faithful day. It's June 18th. I got my wife knows that from 10:30 to 11:30, don't bug me. I cannot be bugged. And I got time off in my work calendar, and that is foreshadowing. I decided that I'm going to take it in my bathroom because for my general exam, I took it in the basement of my old house, and I had to run around with the camera and show them every nook and cranny and get blankets and garbage bags to cover up extra monitors and do all kinds of stuff to get ready for this exam. So I just said, like, I'm going to do it in my bathroom. I heard that's way easier, and I'll touch on that later. It is about 10:15, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get ready. I sit in the bathroom with my laptop, fire it up, get everything ready, which was a good thing. Always do everything 15 minutes early because I had a Windows update and I had Zoom had to update, even though I opened Zoom the previous day and nothing updated. I was like, I want to make sure everything's all ready to go. So I did all that the day before, nothing, and then the morning of, it's like, hey, you got a Windows update and you got this, and there's no way to skip it. You're just gonna have to sit through it. And it took every bit of 5.5 minutes for some reason. So I'm sitting there. It's 10:20. I get the Zoom link ready. 10:29. I jump in there. I'm the only one in there. I'm like, okay, I'm a minute early. We'll give it a sec. 10:35. Nothing. Nobody. I'm still the only one in there. I go, this is weird. Let me go ahead and reach out on Discord. And I say, hey, I at the guy that I got the email from. I said, hey, just making sure you guys didn't forget about me. I got an exam scheduled right now, 10:40. I'm like, this is weird. Ping again. I'm like, hey, any other VEs around? And it's like, I'm pretty sure I got an exam right now. And then as soon as I typed the word VEs and sent, I was sitting there and I'm thinking, VEs. Volunteer examiners. It's a Tuesday at 10:30. What volunteer is going to take off work so they can give a test? I said no. I pulled up my email and I scrolled all the way back those months and I looked at it, and when I scheduled the test, I must have just misread it as 10:30 a.m. because that's what I put it in my calendar as, was 10:30 a.m. The test was 10:30 p.m. Duh, of course. I have just shown up 12 hours early to my exam. Thank God I didn't drive anywhere for this. That would have been super embarrassing. It's already embarrassing enough that I started pinging people in the chat, you know, so I told them, never mind, I'm dumb and I can't read time. So fast forward 12 hours. I go into the bathroom. Here's where I'll talk about the bathroom piece. I jump in. There's already 6 people waiting on me, so I know that I'm at the right time and place now. And they just have me do a little a circle with me holding the laptop up to my chest, just to kind of show that there's no test materials in there and that there's nobody else in the bathroom with me. Basically show them my license, and we start the whole thing, and they say, okay, they're like, you know, where's your cell phone at? And I show them like it's across the room. Where's your, are you wearing a smartwatch? I didn't even think about that one. I said, oh yeah, I am. They said, can you take that off and put it over there? I said, sure, absolutely. I take it off and put it over there. Then there's, I'm using earbuds to talk to them. They're like, are you wearing earbuds? I said, yeah. They said, can you take those out? I said, can I do it when we start? Because that's how I'm hearing you right now. They're like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. Just make sure you show us. I said, okay. So they say, all right, are you ready? I'm like, yep. I said, all right, you can begin. Take my earbuds out and show them. And then I sit there and I try to remember, pace yourself. Don't go too fast. Slow down. And so I kept saying that to myself, and I still finished the test. I'm gonna gloat a little bit because I know your score doesn't matter. It's just as long as you pass. But I'm gonna gloat a little bit that I finished the test in 9 minutes. I think it was 9 minutes, just about flat. And I answered with a score of 48 out of 50. I'm super proud of myself because I studied my ass off. And I think that ham study and this extra class, this fast track book, were like the secret sauce to it all. It really beat the knowledge into my head. I've got links in the description for now I don't have this book. This is the 13th edition. I have the 12th edition because it's for the question pool that is about to expire in a few days. But these are the books that I've had for tech, general, and extra. And while I didn't finish it, I do think these books are great for reference, and they're great to have on hand if somebody says like, hey, you know, I mean, what is this ham radio stuff you're doing? Like, I've always been curious about that. You can pull it up and be like, oh, well, see, like, here's some of this stuff that I could show you, like picture examples of. You have something that you can say like, you know, like, hey, I've already got my license, you know, maybe this is expired, but take a look at it, see if any of it interests you. You know, maybe you find out that you want to actually pursue that. So I think these are great books. And then there's also the fast track book, link in the description. Like I said, the audiobook is not available yet for the new edition. I don't know when that's coming out. I just know that it was amazing. My wife was making fun of me because we drove down to Alabama for vacation and we're listening to this book, and she says, how are you, because it was a 12-hour drive and we drove through the night. She says, how are you staying awake to this? I said, because it's really good. It's actually a really good book. For me, at least, this was probably the best way to learn these questions. I was super happy with how well I knew the knowledge at the end of this book. And that's something that I don't learn from books well. Even audiobooks, usually I don't learn from those well. I'm much more a visual and hands-on learner. So the fact that I think I learned so much knowledge from this is a testament to how good this book is. So I want to give a huge shout out to Josh from HRCC for suggesting this book. Kudos to you because I think this is how he got his extra as well. Yeah, kudos to you for shouting this book out. It's amazing. And shout out to the HRCCVE team. They were also awesome. I jumped in and it's like we were all drinking buddies. It was super laid back and relaxed, and you know, we just kind of chit chatted for a bit before everything, just to kind of calm the mood down. And I really appreciate that. I think they make it really lax and easygoing. So that is a great thing from something that a lot of people put a lot of weight on. Like, I put a lot of weight on this for me to pass this. And also shout out to my wife, who said that if I pass my extra, that means I could buy a radio. So now I'm going to be looking at radios and specs and trying to figure out which radio I want to buy, because I'm going to be saving up and I'm going for something big. Anyways, that's all I got. I got my extra. You can too. This is the Brocam 73.